Hey, Josh here from Nicholas Machinery. He's standing here with our Trident Plus 75 horsepower cabin, made for us and distributed by us exclusively here at Nicholas Machinery by Lovell. Lovell has brought their build quality to the table and provided us with an extremely great offering for a very competitive price for our customers. A couple distinctions that make the Trident Plus 75 different is that you get a bigger front end loader frame, thus you can reach higher, carry more weight in your bucket. You've got a bigger bucket. Over here we've got reflective paint on the top of the Euro hitch, so it makes it a bit easier lining everything up to hook up. You've got extra sheathing on your quick disconnect hoses for the bucket to give it extra protection. Again, following the extra protection theme, you've got an extra guard there to just prevent, sticks and general scrub being thrown up towards your engine bay bonnet area, Extra guards here on the ram to prevent damage to the rams or busting your seals with dirt. So following that, before we head to the rear end and the 3-point linkage setup of the tractor, we'll just come have a look at these new tires. These are 420 by 85 profile tires. 15% improvement in sidewall over our 60 horsepower. Much bigger tires, extra wheel weights, and expandable tracks. You've probably got about another 150 mil of play on this side, and the same on the other side, expanding your footprint by about a foot. Again, with Lovell's build quality offered on the Trident Pluses, we have Lovell with their finish on the paint job, which creates extra rust proofing, thus increasing the longevity of your tractor's life. Next up, you have these easy turn setups on the buckles, so you just pull that up and you can adjust your buckle simply that way. You've got auxiliary outputs for your 3-point linkage if your implements require the auxiliary outputs. That being said, you do have the options there. Over here is an external control for your 3-point linkage. Mind you, be very careful operating any implement and the 3-point linkage on the external controls, because you can get snagged, you can get caught up. Just be something to be mindful of. Please be safe. Over here, you've got your hydraulic overflow tank. You've got your dipstick for the diff. You've got hydraulic downforce on your 3-point linkage. We've also got float on our 3-point linkages. And new to the Lovells and on the Trident Pluses, you do have the quick hitch like the rest of our Trident range. And just over here, you do have your hydraulic filter, just something to consider. So just on this side of the tractor, we'll cover a few extra features that are on these front end loaders on the Trident Pluses. The hoses are now run internally on this arm as opposed to externally, so you're less likely to snag them in a scrubby area. Following on to that, we now have sheathing to protect all of our hoses so that they're just one big bundle as opposed to individual strands. The quick disconnects are standard across the range and are the same on this. The other thing is, we'll quickly touch base on it. If you were to remove the front end loader, all you got to do is drop this leg down. It's held in with one nut. There's one on that side also. You come over to this arm. There's the same on that side. You pull up and push that forward. Disconnect your hoses and you just drive out. So just coming into the cab of the tractor, before we do come in, we do have extra LED lights all around the tractor now to provide you with that better field of view and operating conditions. Speaking of field of view, there's a couple points we'll touch on. We now have 2 sets of mirrors, both flat and convex mirrors, so that you, again, reduce your blind spots and increase your field of view. We now also have a reverse camera built into the Android Auto and CarPlay enabled head unit. While we're up here, we do have the sun visor, your aircon controls. The heater is now controlled electronically through here, so you just flick that switch on and that'll provide you with warm air in the cabin. You've got your sun visor here, fully retractable. You've got tinted glass all around with extra UV protection. So now onto the actual operation of the tractor. We'll just go through that real quickly. Here's your shuttle shift and your clutch. They work hand in hand with each other. So to go forward or reverse, you just clutch in, knock it into forward, clutch in, knock it into reverse. Now, mind you, with regards to the clutch, just like your vehicle's clutch, your standard car clutch, there is some free play built in, but your foot is to remain off the clutch when you are driving, otherwise you will ride the clutch and cook the clutch. Down here, just like your normal truck or car, you do have your combined brakes / split brakes. So currently they are combined, you can't separate them for tighter turning circles left and right there. You have a 12-volt cigarette socket there, so UHF radio or even your hot box for your lunch. That is your fuel cutoff switch there. Keys, accelerator, pedal, as per standard in a car. Speaking of accelerator, up here is your hand throttle to be used as a cruise control, or if you're running implements on the 3-point linkage, you crank that up to about 1600 RPM for 540 RPM at the PTO. Now, on the dash here, we have the new updated LED dash. What that means is you now actually also have your speedo and not just your revs. So for a lot of our customers, we were getting feedback that they would like to know how fast they were going, especially for the customers that were road registering their vehicles. Over here, following on with the PTO, we do have our PTO speed controller. All of our implements run at 540 RPM, and if you need to stop drive to the PTO, you just put your foot on the clutch while stationary, knock that into neutral, and that'll kill all drive to your 3-point linkage and PTO setup. Over here is your handbrake, self-explanatory, just like your normal car handbrake. Down here is your 4-wheel drive selector. 4-wheel drive is to only be operated in the low gears, and I'll cover what the low gears entail in just a second. Over here is your diff lock. It's a stomp pedal, so when you're really in trouble, you can just step on that and keep your foot on that to engage the diff. Now, touching on the 4-wheel drive, going back to the 4-wheel drive, this is what I mean by the low box. You got low, medium, and high. So all operations of 4-wheel drive should be done in low. Over here is your standard H pattern shifter, just like your car. Speed, gears 1, 2, 3, 4, and your neutral. This is one of the big improvements on the 75 cabin model of the Trident Plus. Is you have the more ergonomic front end loader controls, so it is now easily within reach. You do have the solenoid for the bucket opening and closing on the control, so you don't have to remove your hand off the control either. These are your auxiliary outputs for your 3-point linkage. If you have an implement that requires it, you'll know when to use them. These are all your different light switches and assemblies there. And last things here are just your 3-point linkage controls. Down, up. If you push it all the way forward, it engages float on your 3-point linkage. So if you've got the slasher or a trailer behind you, you'll be able to tow it and it'll follow the contours of the ground without skull dragging it. And lastly, if you need to pull up somewhere and you have an implement on the rear, but you need it to stop working temporarily, you can pull that up, and that will engage the sub clutch for the PTO and temporarily kill all drive. One thing to consider is you are to remain stationary when operating the sub clutch, because you will burn out the clutch in the tractor. And just one last safety feature involved is we do now have a glass breaker built into the cabin for you. So just over here on the right side of the operator here, you've got up is back on this 3-point linkage control, forward is down, and if you push it all the way forward, it'll lock forward. That engages float on your 3-point linkage, so that means whatever you're towing behind you, whether it be a slasher or a trailer, will follow the contours of the ground. And over here is your sub clutch on the PTO. What that does is temporarily kill drive to your implements on your PTO. Before you take off, please disengage the sub clutch, otherwise you will burn it out as if you were riding the clutch in a normal vehicle. So now that we've covered the operations on this tractor, we'll now cover basic servicing and maintenance required for the tractor. It's nice and simple. The layout on these tractors is pretty universal across a lot of tractors. So over here you've got your standard 12-volt battery with a battery isolator. It is recommended that if you're going to leave the tractor for an extended period of time, whether it be a week or 2 weeks, just turn off the battery isolator so there's no parasitic loss on the battery. Over here, you've got your fuel water separator with a drain on the bottom. So if you get a bad batch of fuel, you can drain the water out the bottom of that. Next up, you have your fuel filter just over here with a bleed valve on it. So if you get a bit of air trapped in the system, you just loosen that nut, pump on this a few times till you see fuel come out of here instead of air. Close that nut up and you're good to go. And over here, you've got the dipstick for your engine oil and your engine oil filter just here. Another quick tip before we go back into the maintenance of the tractor is that on the thick core radiator here, we do have guards. So what these guards entail is that if you're in a dusty environment or you're slashing in long grass, if your tractor does get a bit warm, you can just pull these guards out, give them a blowout or a shake, and you're good to go again. Over here, you have your power steering reservoir, which is where your hydraulic oil goes if you need to top it up. Down here, speaking of hydraulic fluid, we do have your power steering pump, and that is your hydraulic pump for the tractor's hydraulic system there. And back here, you have the starter motor for the tractor. Now, following on with maintenance, you'll see on the front end loader arm, but you will also see on other parts of the tractor, pretty much any part that has any moving joints or pivots or whatever, you will find a grease point. Please familiarize yourself with them and keep the tractor greased. If you're going to be operating it for a full day, then definitely grease it before and after use. If it's just short-term use, it couldn't hurt to do it every couple days or so. Just real quickly, we did touch on this area before, but I'll just cover it again real quick. This is your hydraulic overflow tank. That's a breather. This is your dipstick over here. You can top up your hydraulic fluid either through the dipstick or through the breather as needed. Down here is the dipstick again for the diff and the hydraulic system. And over here is another hydraulic filter for you to look at. Now that we've covered all the bases on the tractor, I will just say that the thing that separates these tractors is I've driven every tractor on the yard. These Trident Pluses, not just the 75 in particular, they do drive so nicely compared to the standard Tridents. They have a synchro mesh gearbox, so it's nice and easy to change gears. You don't have to worry about rev matching or floating gears. The cabin is considerably quieter, which comes in handy when you're sitting in it all day. The tinted windows keep you cool on a hot day. With the aircon, you're laughing. And overall, these present a great value buy at their price point. Not just from us, but any comparable tractor brand.